One great tool for keeping your PC in tune is to use the disk cleanup feature. To access the disk cleanup, you're going to go to your Start menu, search All Programs, Accessories, and go to your System Tools folder. There's several different tools in here, however we're only interested in disk cleanup, so go ahead and click on disk cleanup. If you have more than one drive or partition, you're going to be prompted to select the drive or partition that you wish to run the cleanup on. I have two partitions here. I have the C drive, the main drive, and I also have the one that I've created called Joe's Volume. I'm going to go ahead and do the C drive, or the C partition. It's going to run a quick analysis of what's cluttering up your system, and it'll give you a report once it's finished. One thing to note is that disk cleanup treats all partitions and volumes as separate disks. So even though my Q partition, called Joe's partition, is on the same physical hard drive, it's identified in this program as a separate drive, even though it's on the same physical one. So you will need to select each partition individually that you want to run this on. So the feedback is, the analysis is here, and it's telling me that I have 6.9 megabytes of disk space that I can free up on the C drive or the C partition, and it's automatically selected some of the items that are typically deleted or cleaned up when we run this program. You can go through, you can see there are downloaded programs, temporary internet files, offline web pages. Interesting that the recycle bin isn't automatically selected. I would typically want to recycle, or I'm sorry, delete the recycle bin. You can always view what's in the recycle bin, or any of these files that you want to delete. Just highlight it and click on View Files, and it will show you what is in there that is to be deleted. So you can always verify what it is before you do it. As well as at the final, you'll be prompted once again to make sure that's really what you want to do. So yes, this is all junk that I want to get rid of. I'm going to go ahead and keep recycle bin selected. So there are other things like setup files, temporary files, thumbnails, and this one's another interesting one. The thumbnails that are part of the metadata that's attached to files that show the, so you don't actually have to open the file to see what a picture will be. I find those kind of useful and helpful, especially in creating this very project and recording that I'm doing now, is that I was able to store several photos or several pictures that I've taken, snapshots, screenshots, things like that, and have them onto a thumb drive, and then I was able to look at those without actually having to open up each and every file to find out which one that I wanted to use for the project. So I'm going to go ahead and unselect that. Alright, so total amount of disk space you gain, 1.79 megabytes. Not much, but this is a new PC, and over time you could imagine there'd be a lot of clutter on there. Click on Clean Up System Files to begin, and it's basically going to do a real quick observation again. You're going to go through the same process. That was more of a preliminary step there. It's going to recalculate based on the settings that we've selected. Or so I thought. I see recycle bin is not selected again, so that's an interesting thing to note. And my thumbnails is checked again. So I'll just verify what it is that is highlighted again, and notice that we have an additional tab here for more options. If you click on this, you've got a couple of different extra options. Programs and features. You can go through and find out programs and things that have been on your computer that you haven't used in a while. And if you're not using them anymore, you can include that in the cleanup process. And then also system restore and shadow copies, which basically are like backup files and things like that. if you choose to clean those up, it'll keep the most current version of those files, or the most recent backup version, but everything prior to that will be cleaned up. And you'll be warned prior to the actual completion cleaning up. It's going to warn you and say, are you sure you want to delete all that stuff? Just to make sure. Going back to disk cleanup, make sure that everything is there that you want to have deleted. Maybe I don't want these offline web pages. I don't need setup logs. Got my recycle bin. Unchecked my thumbnails. Windows error reports are also, they sit there in the queue, and they will sit there definitely and attempt to retry to find a fix for when your PC crashes. I find that in theory this is nice, but typically there's not a whole lot that comes back in those responses, so I would rather just delete those and not have to deal with those popping up popping up periodically. So we'll go ahead and click OK. It's going to warn us again to make sure that we want to delete these files. I'm going to say yes, and we are cleaning it up. Thank goodness we didn't have a whole lot of information there to clean up, but that's a real quick and simple tool that you can use to help keep your PC running free of clutter.